Welcome back, Minecraft fan. Oops, sorry, wrong script. Welcome back to the wonderful world of RLCraft, where everything is on fire and life is pain. But despite this nightmare, I survived 100 days. Not just survived, but I conquered the world. But did I really? I could be so much more powerful, and in these next 200 days, I will be. That's why in this video I will survive 200 more days for a total of 300 days. I'm doing this because there's a lot of grinding that needs to be done and dungeoning to get specific gear and tons of XP. We're in the mid game now, boys. Let's become invincible. Shout out to the Godfather Luke TheNotable for coming up with this great idea, and also thank you to Forge Labs who inspired how I make these videos personally. Now let's get started. Day 101, I'm taking stock of everything that I have. I have a list of things that I want to do during these 200 days, and I need to get prepared. I need more dragon scales for armor, but I do make some upgrades on my gear. I put natural blocking on my shield, which makes me harder to kill, and I ended the day by making a dragon bone pickaxe, which is a big upgrade. I was feeling good about my upgrades day 102, and I decided it was time to explore. I found this guy. Remember this guy that chased me down a mountain and killed me during the first 100 days? Well, he's done for now. There's a new food chain and I am on the top. I killed a total of 3 dragons today, and every single one of them my mount died. I don't know at this point. I think I may just be a bad father. Nah, that couldn't be it. Couldn't be that. I woke up the next day and I had a dragon for breakfast, but at this point I was just sort of looking for XP. I was clearing a battle tower when it sort of just ended. I reloaded the chunks and I saw the terrain was fucked up and the loot was actually scattered underground. But it was because of this that I found an underground village, and it actually had a zombie villager spawner, but there was no real point to really keeping it because spawners break, so I just committed a genocide. I looted the place and I dipped. Day 104, dragons kept existing near me, so I had to commit another mass extinction just out of principle. Mid-slaughter, I found another big dungeon, and I looted the top. I loot the tops of these places just because the loot is so good and you can just snag some really good stuff. But this time I decided to go a little bit further and clear out the tower at day 105 since I needed XP anyways. It was a breeze at this point despite the tricky spawners. I headed home day 106 and I cleared my inventory. I ended up making a god medkit, which is an enchanted medkit with Unbreaking 3 and Mending on it. This thing would never break and it ended up staying with me throughout the next 200 days. I was out exploring day 107 and I found this big tree that spawned in the sky. It was really cool, but it didn't really have much in it. But then I heard a dragon outside and it scared the absolute hell out of me, man. I may be immune to fire, but I did not want to be trapped in a treehouse that was burning in the sky. And this fight with this dragon, it was the most scuffed so far. I was trying to keep Julian alive, but because I didn't know if I'd die from like this height. I eventually beat it, but it was a huge wake-up call because I'm not immortal and you're never really truly safe in RLCraft. So I fought a sea serpent in hand-to-hand combat day 108. Yeah, I don't know why either. I didn't even get the scales, I actually just lost them. But to make myself feel better, I cleared a doom-like dungeon by the end of the day. Yeah, that's what these things are called. They can be underwater or they can be underground, and you're gonna see a lot of these in this video. But you know what you won't see a lot of? Horrific rooms like this. Look at the fear when I see this room full of grabby boys. These freaks will latch onto you and just pull you in a direction. It doesn't matter if there's a wall in the way, you're gone. But I calmly got rid of them and... Oh, no, Never mind. It looks like I just ran away. Okay. Anyways, I was still clearing it on day 109, and look how fast I move in the water. With the Stone of the Sea and Depth Strider 3, I might as well just be flying. I didn't really have much problems with this dungeon, except for this vicious blight Abtu, which is literally just my nightmare brought to life. Look at how fast this thing moves. It was so hard to hit, and I eventually got rid of it, but like, yikes, man. Why does this thing exist? But you know, going through that terrific experience was all worth it. To see this baby lagoon, look at him just vibing. But after I chilled with my new best friend for a while, I cleared the rest of the dungeon. It was decent loot, got a couple of XP tomes which hold 30 levels each, so they're always nice to see. But look at this, look at look at isn't nature beautiful? Oh my gosh. Day 110, I came across another mega battle tower. Now these things have big loot in the top chest. Super dangerous, but you'll see a bunch of these in this video too. For now I just grabbed the top level loot and I dipped. I found another dungeon later on, but I haven't been to one of these in these past 100 days. These things can have some good baubles in them, but they're not great for loot. But I haven't cleared one yet in this series, and I needed some XP, so I decided to just go ahead and clear it. This thing ended up being a miserable experience that lasted through day 111. The spiders that spawned here were absolutely awful, man. They were little spiders that were, firstly, they were hideous, alright? And secondly, they left a trail of webs that was super annoying to fight against, and almost every room had spawners for these guys. And I'm not gonna lie, it was starting to get to me. But I pushed through to the third and final level, to the Malevolent Observer. The other two levels had bosses too, but this guy, he actually did damage, and that was absolutely terrifying. But the worst part about this guy was that he applied this effect that didn't let you draw your bow or pop medkits. So I was in deep shit the moment I entered his room. I ended up staying back and bowing him down, being careful to avoid his beams. I looted the rest and it was trash, so I just headed home.
Right here, this is the 112.
I was back out on day 113 and I found and killed my first ice dragon of the series. And let me tell you, these things are absolutely terrifying, alright? I was used to being immune to most of the dragon's attacks, so being hit with ice constantly was just, I was in shock, alright? And I didn't lose much health to be honest, but I could see this fight going really badly. Later in the day I cleared another battle tower, and I usually don't show these, but this one was just such a, just watch. Day 114, I found another villager utopia, and I can't get over how cool these places are. They're really, really cool. But what I was mainly after was the librarians that were here. I was looking for guide enchants. I didn't find any here, but I'll be trading throughout the majority of these 200 days. The diamonds of these trades are Supreme Sharpness 5, the most OP version of sharpness in this mod pack. It's super rare and it did a shit ton of damage and I really wanted it. I came across this on day 115. I'm not sure. Let's move on. Let's move on. I was in another one of these dungeons, and I found a doggy. Look at him. He's so cute. He had rabies. All right. So I had to put him down. I took him in the back with a shotgun. All right. After I put Sparky down, I was at the boss on day 116, and he sort of just sat in the corner and he took a beating from the bullet. All right. Who wrote the script? Day 117. I decided to fully focus on the Ring of Fairies. It's a bauble. It's a ring that makes you tiny and it makes you harder to hit, but it also lets you fly. All right, and having this thing would make fighting dragons 10 times easier. The only downside was that it reduced your health, but with the armor I was planning to get, it wouldn't matter. But this thing was super rare, and my best bet was the Doom-like dungeon I mentioned before. After flying for a while, I found another underwater version of the Doom-like dungeons, day 118. I cleared it out, and I was getting pretty good at clearing these things out by this point, but I had no luck with the Ring of Fairies. But these dungeons are always sort of worth it, and the loot you can get from them is really good. Day 119 was an absolute roller coaster of emotions. It started off like any other day. I was exploring. I found this little dungeon, and it had a couple spawners in it. And oh look, a little chest. Oh, it's got a bit of TNT under it. I better back up. Oh, is it done yet? Okay, guess not. Oh look, it's hell. I cleared out some more of my current level before I went to hell, and oh man, it was a shit show down there. Super dangerous, fully enchanted mobs in prop 4 armor. I know it's prop 4 because I picked it off the ground for future armor sets. But everything was going just stellar as I kept going through on day 120. That was until this room. This room was an absolute mess. It was a complete disaster. And it wasn't because I was dying, but it was because there was actually so many mobs that my helmet was actually close to breaking. And if that happened, I was just dead instantly. Alright, no second chances. I stayed as long as I could, but I got backed out of the room, so I actually decided to recall home. I would later find out that there were spawners on the ceilings, but it wouldn't have mattered much anyways. I was looking through my runes again, day 121. In the previous 100 days, I collected a bunch of discs because runes sometimes need them, but I didn't have them all. And guess what 3 of the runes that I sort of wanted to craft needed? They needed them all. So I was sort of stuck in that department. But I did end up making a poison stone, which is a better version of the Bezor because it increases the damage of weapons with poison. I also decided to upgrade my sword day 122. I was going for an ice rapier over a fire saber. I figured that the fire damage was negligible and the power to slow down enemies and drop dragons from the skies was better. I chose a rapier because it gets 200% more damage on unarmored targets, and if you have rune piercing capabilities, that makes it proc more often, which is sick, and I wanted it. And I kept upgrading my gear till day 125. Yeah, I was really going for these good enchants, but by the end of the day I had the best sword that I could make and I was ready to set out. I tried to name Julian on day 126 with a name tag, but that didn't work, so we just went out. And I actually found another one of these towers and I spent the rest of the day clearing it. I had Fairy Ring on the mine day 127, and I had cleared another Doom-like. The loot was trash, and I was sad and flightless another day. But on the bright side, I upgraded my sword again day 128. In RLCraft, the too expensive prop on the anvil is a complete lie, and with enough levels, you can upgrade anything. Later in the day, I was back to my new addiction. Doom-likes are the new crack on the market. But I came across the real treasure while clearing it out. These blocks meant a dragon's den. And look at this beast, this monster, this king of hell, this ruler of the sky. What just happened to him? What just... I'll tell you what happened to him. I summoned a Blight Darkling. Look at this guy. Holy shit, man. That dragon got literally shredded. I barely even hit it. Sadly, no egg again, so it was a male dragon. Sag. I spent the rest of day 129 clearing out the Doom-like, with the most exciting thing being this very polite skeleton. He waited for me to drink water. Chivalry really is dead. Get it? Because it's a skeleton. I was wandering through the desert day 130, and I fell for the sand trap, but I can breathe on the water, so it was sort of pointless. But on my travels, I found another villager outpost like my house. I had learned that far enough away from spawn, the librarians in these can have a really good trade. And this one had advanced fucking mending, alright? I was super excited and I spent the rest of the day bringing him all the way back to my house. But if you watch the last 100 days, you'll know that I'm an idiot for doing this, alright? There was another outpost like this right next to my base. And all the villagers in these outposts have the same trades. So I went through this stressful process for nothing. I spent the entirety of day 131 making him a safe spot and putting mending on the rest of my gear. But what I didn't account for is that for the rest of these 200 days, he would attract zombies to my house and they would just sort of sit there. Menacingly. Also, I built this thing a while ago. It's a summoning station powered by redstone. It's pretty neat, pretty useful. Couple villages, day 132, nothing special. I got some lucky librarians. I found a mega desert temple on day 133. I looted the chest and I got a horse and a pig spawn egg. I'm pretty sure that's guaranteed for these, but it's the only place in the game that you can get them, so that's pretty cool. I also happen to know that there's a secret chest room below, but instead of finding it legit, I just sort of, I brute forced my way down there. I dismantled some traps and eventually I found it. The loot wasn't great and the chests were booby trapped, but it would be great for a starting player. I banked the loot day 134 and I went back to covering ground. At this point I realized what Doom-likes looked like from the top, so I was looking for more of those. But I also wanted to find some cool structures that I knew were out there in the world. I figured if I covered enough ground I'd find them eventually. Day 135 was special because while clearing out Doom-likes, battling through endless waves of mobs that came at me, I was rewarded. With Maul. Ah, you thought I was gonna say the fairy ring. Nah, that'd be too easy. I gotta suffer for it. But with Maul, I could look towards making some of the forgotten runes that I had my eye on. Days 136 through 139 were an absolute blur. This was an all-nighter of just clearing Doom-like after Doom-like. I had nothing but fairy ring on the mind. But midway through day 139, I was clearing my 6th dungeon, and I opened a random chest, and I laughed like a hyena at 2 AM in the morning in an absolute delusion. This is the wrong ring. This is the ring of the dwarves. It shrinks you unless you mine faster, and it's a great item. But I had just gotten slapped across the face by the throbbing half-chub of the universe. I cleared back-to-back dungeons all fucking night till day 145. This is why this video is 200 more days, because of all this grinding that I need to do. I got golem boots, which is great, fantastic. I was one step closer to my ideal armor set. But it wasn't the ring, man. It wasn't the ring. Day 148, at 4 AM on a weekday. I found the Ring of the Fairies in a random chest in an underwater Doom-like. The absolute relief that I felt that night was unexplainable. I cleared the rest of the dungeon and I headed home by the end of day 149 to bank all the loot. I spent all of day 150 playing with my new toy and organizing chests. I was finally at peace. I was back in the end day 151 because I didn't pick up the loot from the Ender Dragon, but I had realized over my break that they would still be there because the chunks were unloaded all this time. And there they were, the dragon scales, sitting on the floor right where I had killed the dragon. I had my sights set on an Ankh charm, but I was still missing a few things, so for right now I made a mixed colored dragon scale. This gave me immunity to poison and withering. I also made a shield of honor, giving me 30% resistance and replacing my rings of resistance. Dragons are baby now, day 152. With my one weakness gone, I'm pretty much unstoppable in the air. But I was getting a little bit cocky, so when I was going into the end, I pretty much just walked off the edge and almost fell into the void. But luckily I'm a god now, I can fly, so it's good. I was in the end because I wanted to see if the in-city loot was any good, and I also needed a Shulker heart for the Ankh charm. I cleared a few by the end of day 153, and oh boy, look, an Elytra, I can't wait to fly. But in all seriousness, these would be useful for later. Days 154 and 155, I played with my room some more. At some point I had found the golem helmet, so that was sick, and I got really lucky with the crafting recipe. These things could be really brutal sometimes. I also finally made an ender chest to put my shulker boxes in, but that was pretty much it. I went to the nether for the first time on day 156 to get some brown mushrooms for one of my runes. Usually in RLCraft the nether is a big no-no, but I was so powerful at this point it was an easy journey. I even looted the fortress and I was out by the end of day 157. I traveled all day long on 158 looking for Arcadia wood that I once again needed for one of the runes. Getting these things is like a scavenger hunt, and I hate scavenger hunts. But day 159 I finally made the chrome dome and the flappy rune. With these I could reach a new level. I cleared some dungeons day 160 and I put mending and unbreaking on the flappy rune and my elytra. Day 161, I took to the skies on my own. I no longer need the assistance of my sons to fly. I was a free man. But this mode of transportation did significantly lower my health without a chest piece. I feel like that'll be important later. Nah, it's fine. Because I was now faster than any flying mount in the game and I had infinite fireworks with my wind charge. Day 165, I decided to clear some dungeons. I managed to accumulate 131 levels by day 166, and in an instant they were all gone to get advanced mending on my sword. I've never spent so many levels in my life. I was once again poor and I needed more levels. I decided it would be best to keep doing doom likes for XP day 167. I also couldn't stop, but it turned out to be a life-changing decision because I found another dragon's den, and this one I didn't even need a cracked darkling for. I just sort of orbited around the dragon until it died. And my hard work was rewarded with a dragon egg, finally. Then I spent till day 170 enchanting my golem helmet. I eventually enchanted the helmet, but it was not good. The footage cut so I don't have the final enchants, but trust me, it was just sort of sad. But at this point, I had collected a bunch of wither skulls, so day 171, I collected soul sand from the remains of John's tower, and I prepared for the fights. I just busted down wither after wither day 172. I was doing so much damage at this point, and with the ability to fly, I chased him down and I busted him down. Easy as that. Day 173, I was stupid and I enchanted another terrible helmet because I'm an idiot and life is pain. But third time's a charm because I finally got a good helmet that day. I was flying along day 174, trying to see what I could find with my new speed. But guess what I found? Just sort of sticking out of the ground. Yeah, so I went home to make sure that I had everything, and I came back to tackle the beast. Other than being inside the dragon for most of the fight. Yo, who wrote this? But other than other than that, the dragon fights was easy. Dragons are literally nothing to me, and I even got another egg. I was clearing out another Doom-like day 175, but while I was doing this, I found another one of those hell dungeons on day 176. I was sort of scarred from last time, so I took my time clearing each floor. I eventually made it to hell day 177, and oh man, it was a clusterfuck once again. It was just me being swarmed by mobs constantly the whole day. But the XP was great because I had Education 3, which gives you more XP for killing mobs, and I cleared out the dungeon by the end of the day. Day 178, I spent the whole day exploring, which led me directly back into hell on day 179. At this point, I was numb to the number of ads, and my ice rapier was handling them pretty well, and I was getting better at training them too. So I had the dungeon cleared by the end of day 180. The loot was mad for me at this point, but I was really after the experience anyways. I went on a villager's trading streak for a while, going from village to village and upgrading librarians. I think I got a few decent books for the collection, but nothing of note. But my travels did lead me to another kingdom, which I've been looking for because these things have a bunch of librarians to trade with. And I got insanely lucky on day 184. A librarian gave me upgraded potentials, and let me tell you about this enchant. So in RLCraft, the too expensive prompt when you're enchanting doesn't matter, right? But the levels that you need start to get insane, like how it took me 131 levels to put advanced mending on my sword. But upgraded potentials will reset the level requirement. That's absolutely insane, and it only takes 10 levels to apply. So I used every emerald that I had, and I managed to get 3 books. But you know, I just had to kidnap this man. I needed him for my collection. I was far from my base, but I hopped on George and I started the trek. And I made it, right? It took the whole day, but I made it. Pain. So much pain. I spent till day 191 in absolute grief. I explored and I extended my map, marking a few locations to come back to, but I was mainly using this chance to trade. The more villagers I found, the more chances at good enchantments I had. But forget that and look at this majestic floating masterpiece of a structure that I found on day 192. I mean, look at this thing. Even if it is just floating in the air, you gotta appreciate how crazy this thing is. Like, I couldn't build this thing in my wildest dreams, and it was filled with some mobs and even had some invokers in it. I already had a bunch of totems, but it was my first time seeing them in the world, so that was pretty cool. I found this dungeon that was sticking out of the ground on day 193. This dungeon is weird for 2 reasons. 1, they're usually underground, and 2, it had about 5 tyrant dragons. It's not supposed to be like that. So I spent about 2 days making them extinct. I was done with the genocide midway through day 194, but I thought I might as well stay on theme, so I killed a random dragon. And another, day 195. but you know, I was mainly still just trading for books. Day 196, my travels brought me to another mega battle tower. I broke in through the top, and after clearing the room, I found a forbidden fruit in one of the chests. Alright, this is huge. With this, I can finally make the Ankh Charm, which grants immunity to a bunch of negative effects, and it also frees up a bunch of Bible spots. I was marking locations on day 197, and this fucking sea serpent just leaps at me. At this point, it was 2 AM, and I just didn't even react, but I had my Elytra on, and this fucker could have just one-shot me. And you know, I bet it'd be really difficult to find my loot in the water. I feel like that'll be important later. Nah. Anyways, I just blew through some more mega towers on day 198 and 199. I wouldn't recommend taking these things on without lifesteal and curse of possessions on your main weapon. If a special yoinks your weapon in this thing, it'll be impossible to find it with all the holes and the amount of ads. I happen to know this because I've lost a god weapon to this thing in past runs, and let me tell you, it is absolutely heartbreaking. That's why I went a step further with the fairy ring, because falling 3 levels down over and over again is just not fun at all. At this point, I traded with a lot of villagers and I hadn't gotten much luck with really good books, and I was starting to run out of emeralds. But I knew of this desert structure, right? It's sort of rare, but it can give you 19 emerald blocks. That could be the difference between supreme sharpness and not supreme sharpness. I've been looking for this thing non-stop while exploring, but it wasn't until day 200 that I finally found it. It also has a bunch of gold blocks, but I could come back to those later. I should say now that the reason that this video is 200 more days is because these next 100 days. I'm now in the grinding stages of RLCraft, the end game. I'm going to be skipping days and stuff, so try to keep up. I wanted to become as powerful as possible before I tackle the final hurdle, and that's what I'll be doing these 100 days. I'll be using every trick in my book. This is why I'm a pro, guys in my comment section from last video. I spent a countless amount of days going from village to village trading, and day 207 I found Supreme Fire Aspect 2, which is sort of insane in its own right, and I had also accumulated a couple other lower level Supreme books, but no Supreme Sharpness. After a bunch more trades and carefully spending emeralds, I was actually starting to run low. But just when I thought I'd have to stop, I found another temple day 213, so you know what that means. More gambling! Woo! We love gambling, right kids? I gambled all the way till day 225, when I decided to clear another mega battle tower. The XP that you can get from these things is still insane, but you know what else you can get? A bunch of blight zombies. And blight zombies have a very small chance of dropping 2 very rare baubles. One is very useful, and one is the one that I got. You can't make this shit up, man. But at this point I was used to disappointment, so I cleared the rest of the tower and I moved on. I had cleared a good amount of these towers at this point, and I was starting to notice that my current sword was a bit slow at killing huge waves of armored mobs. But I had reached the end of the line with this sword because I had already put upgraded potentials on it. So I started crafting another blade, day 226. I put enchantments on a book and I put the book on a sword. The enchantments got a little high, so I decided to just bite the bullet and put upgraded potentials on it. I needed to farm some more levels, but by day 232, I had my god sword. And I also, you know, made a god bow on the side, but you know, that's whatever. Day 235, I was in a dungeon testing this thing out, and look at this thing. Look at my swing cooldown. It's so fast that the animation doesn't even finish. That's Swifter Slashes 5, my guy. I love modpack so much. Alright, so I've been at this house for a long time and it served me well. But I need more storage, and a house that won't burn down would also be nice too. So I started gathering materials day 237, and I started digging day 238. I decided an underground base would be the safest, but this process was super annoying because I was actually digging so fast that the blocks were glitching and not breaking. But despite that, I had a decent space cleared out by day 240, and I started planning out the layout. I wanted to have a rugged cave look up until my chest room that would be a clean stone and regular brick layout. From there I could extend rooms out as I needed, but I'd have an open space to work with from the beginning. Once I had the inside chest room set up, I started to move on day 245, and I had everything moved by day 248. I set up a little enchanting area, which I never had the chance to move, but I could move in the next 100 days if you guys want that video. Let me know in the comments, and leave a like if you want to. I spent the rest of the day making the engines look nicer, and I even managed to fit a beacon that I forgot to activate. I was going for the mineshaft look, and I'm not the best at building, but I think it turned out alright. Day 250, I updated the fire and ice mod. I know it was a bit random, but I wanted the cool stuff that you could get, and I figured that if I'm gonna make the best gear in the game, I might as well full send and make dragon steel gear. To mark the occasion, I decided it was finally time to hatch my dragon eggs. I've been putting it off because as cool as dragons are, they aren't very practical, and you'll see what I mean with the multiple headaches that becoming a dragon father brought. I made a separate room for these boys, and I lit the fires that they would need to hatch. I made the dragon horns, which is what you use to store the dragons. But while I was about to make the name tags, I noticed that some cinders had spawned in the room because of the fire. I killed them and I thought nothing of it, but I should have. I should have worried, but I was too excited about my new children. I had 2 gray dragons and 1 red. The red dragon's name was Prince, the right egg was Sylvester, and the left egg was Druin. Of course the red dragon was going to be the favorite and the other 2 would be there to support him. I checked on them again. Everything was fine. I planned to get them a sister ice dragon, mainly because I wanted ice steel dragon armor, but I waited to make sure everything went smoothly. I heard a noise. I rushed in and I saw more cinders. I killed the cinders. I'm not sure if it was the cinders or if it was the arc slash on my sword, but when the smoke cleared, only Druin remained. I checked everywhere, I even relogged, but my children were gone. If only I had been more careful. I put Druin in the safety of the horn, and I went out day 251 to take my mind off the loss. I now had my mind on an ice dragon egg. I was trading all along the way as I went to the one frozen place I knew on my map, and then I spent days underground scanning for a dragon den. Finally, I stumbled across one on day 255, and it didn't even seem real at that point. I had to be somewhat careful, like I mentioned before. Ice dragons are harder to deal with compared to fire dragons. But with my ring of the fairies, I cleaned it up pretty quickly. But still, there was no egg. But I was back to the underground day 256. I found this really cool ogre prison, and I'd never seen anything like this, and I'm not gonna lie, it was absolutely terrifying. Ogres are tanky, and there are a lot more of them when you update Ice and Fire. But it was because of this prison that I was able to find my second dragon's den. This one was a level 4 and it was way less terrifying. Honestly, the invisible ogre was scarier than this thing. Did you guys know that ogres can deflect arrows? Fucking yikes, dude. But fuck those ogres because this dragon was a female and it dropped a dragon's egg. I went home immediately, almost fried it because apparently you don't hatch ice dragons with fire, go figure. But eventually it did hatch and my problem child Sylvia hatched on day 257. I spent the rest of the day messing with chains that are new in the upgraded Ice and Fire mod. These things are like leads that can hook onto anything, and you know that I had to try it on Dragon. And look at this poor fucker. This is way too much power for me to have. I spent the next 3 days gathering the meat that I'd need to make the dragon meal and grow Sylvia. And oh boy was he, growing by day 260, and we took to the skies. And that is where the nightmare began. So it turns out that level 4 and 5 dragons are a bit glitchy when it comes to dragon horns. And this is why Silver became a problem child. The first time it happened, I was super confused. He just wasn't in the horn anymore, and it scared the absolute hell out of me. Turns out, he'll stay in the horn for about 20 seconds. Then the horn will be empty and he's in the sky. And I have to relog to see him. And he wouldn't fucking listen to me and would just fly around randomly in the air. It didn't matter if I used a dragon command staff. And he's loud. Fuck me, man. And look at what he did to my house. I spent a couple days hunting down dragons for ice dragon scales and blood. I needed the scales to make the ice dragon forge, and I needed the blood for the dragon steel ingots themselves. Dragon steel is so much better than all the other gear in the mod pack. I decided to make ice dragon armor, but I think I may want to make lightning dragon armor in the future, if only for how cool it is. But I still think the ice dragon steel rapier is better because of the slowing effect. But after a ton of work, I had the forge working by day 265, and I had my first dragon steel ingot. In day 266, I made the Ice Dragon Steel Rapier. It does 13 damage. For reference, my current God Sword does 9.5. Like, holy shit, man. Now imagine how much damage it would do with Supreme Sharpness 5. And that's all that was on my mind when I went on another gambling spree till day 273. I'm a bit of a gamer, and also an addict, but I digress. During this time I also killed some more ice dragons and I gotten some more XP for the mega enchantments I was going to put on this new gear. But I never imagined what would happen on day 274. I came across one of the mega buildings of this mod pack. I found a forest stronghold. I didn't even know where to start with this thing. It was just so massive and complex that I was just super excited. I finally decided to start from the outside and work my way inward. I broke this thing down into sections in my mind. The surrounding towers, the big boy tower, the underground, and the yard. My plan was to clear the outer towers to a point where I didn't go into the underground. Then the yard, making my way into the big tower, up to the top. Finally sweeping the underground, which is the coolest in my opinion. This was the raiding plan. Now let's get started. The basement. This was a maze that was laced with booby traps, unique rooms full of full diamond armored enemies, and one of the coolest rooms I've seen in RLCraft. I took a bunch of loot from like 6 double chests of loot down there, and I moved on day 277 with my shulker boxes full of the loot of legends. There are definitely more godly structures in RLCraft, and I hope to find those someday, but this was one of the coolest experiences that I've had in this mod pack. I spent a huge stretch of days just going in one direction trading with villagers, but I was home day 280. At this point I had crafted my Dragon's Steel armor, and I had enchanted some of the pieces, but the only piece ready to wear was the helmet. Unenchanted armor in RLCraft is just sorta useless. I had a book in preparation for my new sword, but I still had my mind on supreme sharpness. At this point, some RLCraft veterans would say not to get my hopes up for god enchants like that, but my hopes were rejuvenated on day 285 when I got upgraded potentials again. I literally spent all of my air modes, but I had learned my lesson. I was too far away to take this guy home, so I just locked them in a marked place on my atlas. I grinded levels till day 286 when I finally gave in and put advanced sharpness on my Dragon's Steel sword day 287 to make it my best weapon. By day 292, I had a full set of armor enchanted. And day 293, I went as far as to even make a bow. But I was sad. I was sad because my dream of supreme sharpness was still just a pipe dream. In an act of desperation, I went out to trade later day 294, but I never should have. I should have just accepted reality, because day 294 was doomsday, and while exploring, I was shot down by my greatest enemy. I was too careless. I thought just because I had the best armor and good enchants that I was safe from the titans of this world. Truthfully, all dramatics aside, I came back and I killed the stupid sea worm because they're dumb, and I got all my gear back. But it was a serious realization for me. But instead of sitting through the last 5 days, I fucking got back up. I should have given up after this, but instead I spent the rest of these days trading non-stop. In day 298, I fucking did the impossible. I wasn't recording the moment, but I recorded the trip back. Halfway across the world, dragons left and right, just me and George, just like it used to be. It took till day 300 to get him home safely. And boys, I got it. My man Theo was born, and I secured him in his max security home. The sword that I make with this will be legendary. And top comment names the sword. With this, it's the end of the 300 days. I just want to briefly thank all of you for supporting my original 100 days. I never thought I would get as much support as it did, so just thank you. If you like this video, there will be more like this in the future. Let me know if you want me to continue this series next,